welcome to the very first episode of the Actual News Podcast. My name is Olga Nesterova, and this podcast is by the Onest Network. If we have never met before, here's a short intro. I'm a former United Nations diplomat. I'm also a television producer. I have been on different shows. I have produced different shows and have interviewed over 400 people. I'm also a White House correspondent, and I report on national and global news. Factual news are so important these days because it is very difficult to distinguish between the clickbaity news and the information that is actually valuable, that will help you to build your own opinion. So that's where this podcast comes in. Every day, Monday through Friday, I will be reporting on actual news to help you make better decisions. Also, if you're a visual reader and learner, this podcast also comes in a form of a newsletter. So please check that link in the description of this episode. Every morning, I also go live on YouTube to present the AM actual news. So if you don't mind starting your day together with me, please check the YouTube link also in the description. So let's begin. Today is Monday, December 16th, and this is the actual news. President Biden signed a proclamation to establish the Frances Perkins National Monument in Newcastle, Maine, honoring the first female U.S. Cabinet Secretary and the longest-serving Secretary of Labor. Perkins played a key role in creating the New Deal, including Social Security, labor rights, and the minimum wage. The monument encompasses the 57-acre Perkins homestead, where she spent much of her life. The designation was part of a broader effort by the Biden administration to recognize women's historical contributions. Additionally, Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland announced new national historic landmarks and investments in women's history sites, furthering the administration's commitment to honoring women's roles in American history. Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su announced that President Biden would be inducted into the Department of Labor's Hall of Honor.
Now, Mr. President, you have made history time and time again with your commitment to working people. And while you are here to honor one of my predecessors, we're here to induct you into the Labor Hall of Honor. Now, the Hall of Honor is how we acknowledge the labor heroes of America. And as we reflect on your legacy, Mr. President, the way that you always had workers' backs, the way that you put workers first, there is really no one like you.
President thanked Su for the incredible honor and acknowledged members of his cabinet and members of Congress in attendance. He noted that his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, is a longtime union member of the National Education Association. He also recognized the grandson of Frances Perkins, as he recognized her contributions to the labor movement. Now, a little bit from the White House. In more than 50 years of public service, President Biden has remained devoted to improving the lives of America's workers, retirees, and their families by championing pro-union policies that strengthen the middle class and build an economy from the middle out and the bottom up. Under his leadership, more than 16 million jobs have been created in America, threatened pensions have been secured for more than 1.2 million workers and retirees, and the number of workers seeking to join a union has doubled. Established in 1988, the Hall of Honor recognizes those whose distinctive contributions in the field of labor have improved working conditions, wages, and overall quality of life of working families in the United States. It is located in the North Plaza of the Department of Labor's national headquarters in the Frances Perkins Building at the 200 Constitution Avenue Northwest in Washington. Also, President Biden wrote an essay that was published in the American Prospect, where he discussed his middle-out, bottom-up economic approach. This essay was published today. He emphasized how it had led to a stronger recovery from the challenging economic conditions of the previous 4 years. The president highlighted 3 core pillars of his strategy: investing in America's future, supporting workers over the wealthy, and lowering costs while helping small businesses thrive. Biden contrasted his approach with decades of trickle-down economics. arguing that it was rebuilding infrastructure, supporting unions, and creating a fairer tax system. He asserted that while the full effects of these policies would take years to materialize, they were laying the groundwork for long-term growth. Biden concluded by expressing confidence that if the next administration continued on this path, the U.S. economy would remain a global leader for decades to come. Now, that remains to be seen. You can read the full essay on theprospect.org, and the link is available in your newsletter. Now, speaking of President-elect Donald Trump and SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son announced a $100 billion investment in the U.S. over the next 4 years, aiming to create 100,000 new jobs in artificial intelligence and related infrastructure. Son attributed his increased confidence in the U.S. economy to Trump's victory. The pledge follows SoftBank's previous $50 billion investment in 2019, although job creation from that initiative was difficult to track. SoftBank, a major player in AI, holds stakes in key companies like ARM Holdings and OpenAI. Now, on Friday night, President-elect Trump announced on Truth Social his intention to end Daylight Savings Time, the DST, and work with Republicans to make standard time permanent once in office. Trump argued that DST is very costly to our nation and said that there's an ongoing debate about the pros and cons of switching the clocks twice a year. While DST was originally aimed at boosting consumer spending by extending daylight in the evenings, its effectiveness has been questioned, especially as online shopping increases. The energy savings from DST are also debated, with no clear consensus on its impact, especially as energy consumption patterns have changed since DST became federal law in 1966. Health experts argue that standard time better aligns with human circadian rhythms, leading to improved sleep and mental health, while also making mornings safer for children. A Monmouth University poll found that more than 60% of Americans prefer to stop changing the clocks. Despite efforts in 2022 and 23 to make DST permanent, both bills failed to pass in Congress. And now, let's get to some quick news. A shooting at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin, left at least 5 people dead, including the juvenile shooter, and injured 5 others. The school serves approximately 390 students from kindergarten through 12th grade. Authorities in Gaza reported on Monday that more than 45,000 people have been killed in the enclave in the last 14 months, as humanitarians condemn new deadly airstrikes across the war-torn strip, including on a UN school-turned-shelter. In a statement, President Biden reaffirmed the United States' unwavering support for the Republic of Korea, its citizens, democratic processes, and the rule of law, highlighting the strength of the U.S.-ROK alliance, which has made significant progress in recent years. He expressed his commitment to further collaboration. He also emphasized the United States' readiness to work with acting President Han Duck-soo and the ROK government to advance shared values and mutual interests. Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost a confidence vote, further deepening the political turbulence in one of Europe's most powerful economies, Germany. As a result, fast-tracked elections are scheduled for February 23rd. Sam Altman, OpenAI's chief executive, plans to donate $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. Meta and Amazon have done the same. Daniel Penny, a former Marine who was acquitted after choking a homeless man to death in a New York subway car, attended the Army-Navy football game as a guest of Trump and J.D. Vance. Steve Bannon, in a speech at the New York Young Republican Club Gala, suggested that Trump should run for a third term in 2028. Quote, "It doesn't actually say consecutive. I don't know, maybe we do it again in 28. Are you guys down for that? Trump 28?" Unquote. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's 84, was hospitalized with a fractured hip after she tripped and fell while traveling in Luxembourg with other members of Congress. She underwent hip surgery at the U.S. military base in Germany. President Emmanuel Macron appointed François Bayrou, a centrist, as France's prime minister. Bayrou is the fourth prime minister this year. Israel said it would close its embassy in Dublin days after Ireland promised to support South Africa's case against Israel in the International Court of Justice. Confused North Korean troops opened fire on Kadyrov's Chechen troops, pro-Russian troops, by mistake, killing 8 in the Kursk region. Now, Russian oil tankers sank near the Kerch Strait, breaking in half due to waves. Each tanker may spill up to 4,000 tons of mazut fuel. Pope Francis prayed for both Ukrainians and Russians. Quote, "They are brothers, cousins. Let them come to an understanding. War is always a defeat. Peace to the whole world." Unquote. Well, as a Ukrainian-born U.S. citizen, I can tell you that the rapist and the victim do not deserve the same type of prayer. And in this case, Russia is the rapist and Ukraine is the victim. So, interesting. Now let's continue. Zelensky said, quote, "Ukraine confirmed 19,500 cases of Ukrainian children stolen by Russia. Russian figures claim the number is 700,000. They're proud to have stolen the children," unquote. Now, Russia announced that it is stopping grain shipments to Syria, while Ukraine announced that it is starting grain shipments to the country. Well, maybe Pope Francis needs to get this type of update. Effective January 8, 2025, all U.S. citizens transiting through or traveling to the United Kingdom for tourism, family visits, business meetings, conferences, or short-term study for 6 months or less will require an electronic travel authorization, referred to as ETA, prior to travel. It costs £10 to apply. Everyone traveling needs to get an ETA, including babies and children. President Biden issued a statement on the shooting at Abundant Life Christian School in Wisconsin. Here's a quote of it that I found really remarkable. He says, "My administration has taken aggressive action to combat the gun violence epidemic. We passed the most significant gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years. I have taken more executive action to reduce gun violence than any other president in history, and I created the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. But more is needed. Congress must pass common sense gun safety laws, universal background checks, a national red flag law, a ban on assault weapons, and high-capacity magazines. We can never accept senseless violence that traumatizes children, their families, and tears entire communities apart." He said that he is praying for all the victims today, and him and the First Lady are asking to pass new laws that are so desperately needed. Now, in other news, the Federal Reserve is widely expected to implement a final quarter-point rate cut in its meeting this week, with strong confidence among analysts. However, the path to rates in 2025 remains uncertain due to persistent inflation and potential economic disruptions from President-elect Trump's policies, such as tariffs. A Bloomberg survey of 50 economists suggests a median expectation of 3 rate cuts next year, though inflation and policy changes could influence that outlook. Now, in other news, the foreign ministers of Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the Republic of Korea, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, and United States, and the High Representative of the European Union issued a joint statement condemning the increasing military collaboration between North Korea and Russia. This includes the deployment of DPRK troops to fight in Ukraine and the export of military material like ballistic missiles and artillery shells to Russia. The statement highlights the violations of United Nations Security Council resolutions and expresses concern about potential Russian support for North Korea's illegal weapon systems and programs, which could escalate tensions on the Korean peninsula. The coalition reaffirms its commitment to supporting Ukraine's defense and urges both Russia and North Korea to halt their military cooperation immediately. The group also calls on the international community to join in imposing sanctions to address the growing threat posed by this partnership. And now to sanctions. The U.S. imposed sanctions on 9 individuals and 7 entities for supporting North Korea's military and financial activities. The Department of State also sanctioned 3 entities tied to North Korea's ballistic missile program. These actions follow recent missile tests by North Korea and its increasing military support to Russia, including sending troops and ammunition to aid in the war against Ukraine. The sanctions aim to disrupt illicit networks, fueling North Korea's WMD and missile development, as well as its destabilizing role in global security. Now, Ukraine has developed a laser weapon known as Trident, making it the 5th country in the world to possess such technology, according to commander of the Ukrainian drone forces, Sukharevsky. He stated that the laser is capable of shooting down aircraft at altitudes exceeding 2 kilometers. However, Sukharevsky did not disclose further technical details about the weapon. Now, the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine reported significant losses among North Korean army units during the assaults in Russia's Kursk region. Between December 14 and 15th of this year, at least 30 North Korean soldiers were killed and wounded in the villages of Plechovo, Voroshba, and Martinovka. A video was released by Ukraine's military on December 15th showing the bodies of North Korean soldiers. Additionally, Ukrainian drone strikes in southern Russia resulted in the death of a 9-year-old boy and a fire at a major oil terminal. On December 16th, drones also successfully targeted the Rosgvardia military base in Grozny, Chechnya, traveling over 1,000 kilometers to strike Kadyrov's forces. Now, let's talk about Hungary. Hungary is very much pro-Russia, very much pro-Putin, so Hungarian foreign minister announced that Hungary successfully secured exemptions for Patriarch Kirill, the Russian Olympic Committee, and Russia's permanent representative to the UN, currently Vasily Nebenza, from the European Union's 15th sanctions package. The latest sanctions package targets several high-profile individuals and organizations. In total, the sanction lists include 54 individuals and 30 entities from Russia, China, and North Korea. The package also targets 52 oil tankers transporting Russian oil. Additionally, the EU imposed sanctions on 26 individuals and 2 companies from Belarus for supporting the war in Ukraine. The package includes export restrictions on 32 companies from China, India, Iran, Serbia, and the UAE for supplying dual-use goods to Russia. Now, a massive explosion was seen in northwestern Syria near the city of Tartus. As I reported previously, but if we're just getting acquainted now, previously I did report that Tartus is the most important military or specifically Navy base, Russian Navy base in Syria. It's the only base in the warm waters, and they use it heavily to conduct their operations in Africa. So today, this massive explosion was seen near the city of Tartus following an Israeli strike on a munitions depot. The blast was so powerful that it was detected as a 3.0 magnitude earthquake by nearby seismic sensors. There are clear signs that Russian forces, including an S-400 surface-to-air missile system, are withdrawing from Khmeimim air base in Syria. Again, previously reported, there are 2 main bases. The air base in Syria, the Khmeimim, and also this Navy base that I just mentioned earlier. Now, however, Russian authorities continue to claim that no final decisions have been made regarding the future of their presence at the Khmeimim or the naval base near Tartus since the fall of their longtime ally Bashar al-Assad last weekend. Now, as to U.S. Central Command, the forces have conducted precision airstrikes on December 16th, today, targeting known ISIS camps and operatives in Syria, killing 12 terrorists. These strikes are part of an ongoing effort to disrupt and degrade ISIS operations, preventing the group from reconstituting in central Syria and conducting external attacks. The strikes, which took place in former regime and Russian-controlled areas, aim to maintain pressure on ISIS. Battle damage assessments are ongoing with no reports of civilian casualties. General Michael Eric Kurilla emphasized that CENTCOM and its regional allies will not allow ISIS to regain strength. Now, let's talk a bit about European Union. So, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission, Kaja Kallas, held her first Foreign Affairs Council. She's newly elected. And so the three major topics on today's agenda were Syria, Ukraine, and Georgia. And here is her doorstep statement.
On Syria, on Saturday, I was in Jordan, meeting with the Arab nations as well as Turkey and United States to discuss the principles of engagement with the new leadership of Syria. What is expected from them? I think it's very important that the regional actors as well as the international actors see the picture in the same way and want this country to be stable, peaceful, and all comprising government in place. So therefore, I think it was important to agree on these principles. I've also tasked European top diplomat in Syria to go to Damascus to make the contacts with the new government and people there. So we will also discuss today in the Foreign Affairs Council how we engage with the new leadership of Syria and on what level we engage with the new leadership. And of course, what more steps are we willing to take if we see that Syria goes to the right direction. Syria faces optimistic, positive, but rather uncertain future, and we have to make sure that this goes to the right direction. On Ukraine, the foreign ministers today will adopt the 15th sanctions package. It includes the shadow fleet, sanctioning the shadow fleet. It includes also sanctioning the North Korean officials, as well as the Chinese companies who are enabling this war. So it sends a clear message that whoever enables this war to continue has a price to pay. And on Georgia, of course, all the developments that we are seeing right now in Georgia are not going to the right direction where the candidate countries should be. So we are going to discuss what are the consequences for the Georgian government using the repressions on the opposition and all the tools that they are using there. So what can we do on the European side? So one question is, of course, sanctions, and the other question is also limiting the visa-free regime.
As to the drones, looks like it's not just happening in the United States. So in early December, drones were detected flying over the U.S. airbase at Ramstein, Germany, according to a spokesperson for the U.S. Air Force on December 13th. The spokesperson confirmed that there were no impacts to base residents, facilities, or assets. While German authorities have not identified the drone operations, a security source told Reuters that they have ruled out the possibility of amateur involvement. By the way, today I joined the briefing with John Kirby of the National Security Council, and he said that we need to report, we meaning press, that there are over 1 million drones that can legally fly in the United States, and 1,000 of them or so are doing so daily, and they don't see any threat. The press and we all try to ask questions as to why we suddenly detect those drones. If this is so normal, why are we all suddenly freaking out? Are we freaking out, or is there a reason to freak out? He didn't offer any particular answer, rather than stating that most of the drones and sightings were actually actual planes that people mistook for drones. I will update you as soon as I get more information. Now, a federal appeals court in Washington rejected TikTok's request to delay a potential ban on the app or of the app set for January 19th. The company had sought to temporarily block the law while it prepares to appeal the decision to the Supreme Court. A TikTok spokesperson confirmed that the company is ready to take the case to the highest court. United Health Group CEO Andrew Whitty reflected on the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, describing him as a talented leader. In a New York Times op-ed, Whitty acknowledged the flaws in the U.S. healthcare system, calling it a patchwork in need of reform. He defended coverage decisions as evidence-based, but admitted they're often misunderstood by patients. The tragedy has reignited criticism of excessive CEO pay, insurance denials, and inefficiencies like high administrative costs and pricing opacity. While public opinion in the system remains divided, experts argue the industry's profit-driven pressures exacerbate these challenges. Now, let me present to you a video where the Brits guess the cost of an inhaler and a pair of EpiPens in the US. Let's check their reaction.
Inhaler.
$100.
Yeah, you're pretty close. It's a bit more.
120
250 to 350.
for an inhaler.
Yes.
Man, so if you're poor, you're dead.
2 EpiPens.
Okay.
How much do you reckon they are?
$80.
600.
$40.
I'm afraid not.
More?
More?
$100.
More.
150.
More.
250.
More.
Shut the fridge.
More.
£300.
Double it.
$600. What? Why?
That's a very good question.
$600.
Yeah.
Why is indeed a very good question. Now, let's talk about business. Broadcom reached a $1 trillion market cap for the first time, driven by a 220% surge in AI chip revenue. Now, Broadcom makes chips that are very much used for the AI industry, and it's a company like NVIDIA, right? So, Broadcom capitalized on the growing demand for AI technology. While it now stands alongside giants like NVIDIA, Broadcom's success is largely attributed to its semiconductor business, which helped boost its stock by 24%. CEO Hock Tan anticipates the AI chip market will reach $90 billion by 2027. Despite strong growth and new customer wins, including large-scale data center clients, Broadcom faces the risk of losing business as tech giants like Apple increasingly develop their own AI chips. Meanwhile, competitors NVIDIA and AMD saw their shares drop, possibly due to concerns over Broadcom gaining market share. Now, ABC News and anchor George Stephanopoulos have reached a settlement in the defamation lawsuit filed by Donald Trump, agreeing to pay $15 million as a charitable contribution to a presidential foundation and museum. The settlement also includes $1 million for Trump's attorney fees and a public statement of regret for remarks made during a March 2024 interview where Stephanopoulos inaccurately stated Trump has been found liable for rape. ABC News expressed satisfaction with the settlement, which avoids a trial. The lawsuits stemmed from Stephanopoulos' repeated claim about Trump's legal liability in a sexual abuse case involving E. Jean Carroll, despite the jury ruling him liable for sexual abuse, not in particular rape. And now let's talk about Japan. To address its ongoing population decline, Japan plans to introduce a 4-day workweek for over 160,000 government employees starting in April. The initiative aims to alleviate the country's rigid work culture and make it easier for women to balance career and family life. Japan, facing its 16th consecutive year of population decrease and the world's highest elderly to young population ratio, has struggled to boost its birth rate despite offering tax breaks, expanding daycare, and even launching a dating app. The nation is projected to have fewer than 700,000 births this year, the lowest since records began in 1899, while its birth rate remains far below the replacement level of 2.1. The neighboring South Korea is paying men to reverse their vasectomies and plans to spend $322 million to address its loneliness epidemic. Its fertility rate was just 0.72 last year, the lowest in the world. Now, it's very well known that the women are marching in support of feminism in South Korea, so perhaps they could just address women's rights as an idea. And to finish up, I want to present to you a song which comes from Ukraine. Perhaps we were not really aware of the history behind it. Let's see if you can recognize it.
How did this Ukrainian protest song become a Christmas classic? Shedrack was composed by Mykola Leontovich and became a cry for freedom in the aftermath of World War I. Ukraine declared its independence, and the president thought a worldwide tour of their best singers performing their country's music would help the world embrace their culture. At Carnegie Hall, the American composer Peter Wilhowsky heard them perform the song. He believed it was perfect for his new radio program and rewrote the original Ukrainian lyrics to form Carol of the Bells. The new version became a Christmas staple, and a century later, it's clear Ukraine succeeded in bringing their culture to a worldwide audience.
Now, could you recognize it? I know Saks Fifth Avenue here in New York usually plays the song with their slide installation, which they somehow are not doing this year. But anyway, this is for today. I hope you found it useful. Please let me know. Please connect with me on social media. I am on Instagram under @ONESTPress, ONESTPRESS. Also, same username on Blue Sky and also on Twitter if you're still using it. So please connect with me. Please DM me. Feel free to message me privately to let me know what you would like me to cover, and also your feedback, your genuine feedback about the podcast. So thank you so much for listening, and see you tomorrow. Have a peaceful night and a peaceful morning. Until then, this is the Actual News Podcast.